Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, Chaos Kids. I'm Naomi.
Ooh, I'm Amber, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. God, that's appropriate. I'm over here half asleep. You're like, rise and shine. I'm like, I can't. No rise,
you're so
no
tired.
shine.
Why are you so tired, sister?
Well, yesterday was my first day back to work after my vacay, and I've just been crazy busy trying to get back in the swing of things. You know,
how was your vacation? We haven't even talked since you got back. You were gone for like a whole week.
A whole week. I finally made it to the Redwoods, which has been on my bucket list forever.
Yes. I did not know you were including the Redwoods, and that's quite a drive.
Yeah. Well, we were about 2 hours outside of Northern California where we were at in Oregon. So we took a day trip to the Redwoods.
Wow.
I know. We did sort of self-guided tour, but there was a gondola ride. There was the sort of not rickety, but a little bit precarious rope bridges from tree to tree way up high that we did. It was cool.
You did that?
Fuck yeah, I did that.
Who are you?
I know. That's what happens when that was vacation me. I get wild.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The sister that doesn't want us to ever go on a hike that's like got any kind of incline. She's telling me she's wild on vacation now.
It's not the incline. It's the wild animals. See, I was very comfortable in the, Oh,
well, you're way high up on a bridge. You're less likely to get attacked by a bear. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was like, it was fairly people-y because it was
sure.
It was
like a park, like a state park or whatever.
Correct.
National. It's a national park.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Oh my God. I love it.
I bet.
Mm-hmm. Loved
well,
it.
That's awesome. You just checked something off your bucket list. That's amazing. I love that for you.
Thank
and
you, sister.
You didn't work for a week.
No.
How did you handle that?
I mean, I did bring my laptop and I don't think I worked though. I think, the one thing I was going to do, you covered for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I was like, sweet. I don't have
because I got you. I got you, sis.
That's it.
I got you.
I didn't work. I did not work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you? How was your week?
My week was really quiet. I've been really tired. I don't know if it's the weather change or the season change, or I'm not really sure what's going on, but I've been pretty low. So I laid really low last week.
Good.
Yeah. And then, I'm leaving in a couple days, going to a destination wedding in NOLA.
Ooh.
So that'll be cool. And yeah, not a lot going on over here.
That'll be your second time in NOLA in less than 2 years.
Like a year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's about almost the exact same time same time I was in New Orleans last year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be in a different area that you didn't get a chance to see?
Not in an area that I didn't get a chance to see, but definitely in a different area. I'm going to be right on the edge of the French Quarter because like the wedding and the reception are happening in the French Quarter. So,
fun.
But I'm going to be there for like a couple days before and after. So I'm hoping after I make sure that the bride doesn't need anything from me, because I did offer my services in case there was any last minute stuff that she needed help with. I am going to try and see something. The one thing that we didn't do last time, because it was like a whole thing, and I don't know if I'll actually be able to do it, but the one thing we didn't do was see any of the historical like plantations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that like one of the like best ones as in like historical like accuracy and respect, I think is just outside of New Orleans. I'm not 100% certain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look into that. Maybe that. But if not, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, I love that for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fun.
What are you drinking, sis?
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking a rosé from Samuel Roberts Willamette Valley Wine. I drove through the Willamette.
It's it's lovely.
It's pretty.
It's lovely there.
Yep.
No, Southern Oregon is gorgeous.
Yeah. The last leg of our trip, we stayed in Bend for a few days, which I'd never been to. And what a cool town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we went to the last Blockbusters on Earth.
Oh, you did. Oh, good job, you.
Yeah, I got Blockbuster sweatpants. Yep. Sure
Okay.
did. It was a whole thing. Anyway,
You can order those online, right?
it's not the same. It's not the same. Mhm.
Oh, so
yes.
what do you got for me? Oh, wait.
We've got 2 shouty outies.
We have
Ooh.
2 shouty outies.
Fuck yeah, we do.
Did you write them down?
Yeah, I've got this big ass whiteboard behind me. We've got
of
2
course.
new Chaos Kid Club members. We have
2 in like the same day.
I know. Fuck yeah.
That was a good
The
day.
day was a good day. We've got Misty F.
Hello, Misty. Welcome to the
Misty.
club.
Hell yeah. And Jennifer L.
Jen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jen's a bud.
Is
Jen's
she?
a bud. Yep.
Mm.
That was a very wonderful message when you sent that. It's always awesome when one of my friends decides that we're cool enough to actually give money to every month.
I know. We made the cut. Thank you, Jennifer and
Yes.
Misty. It's awesome.
Yes. Thank you both. We're so glad to have you. We hope you enjoy all the bonus content that you're ripping through right now.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Are you ready for a crime?
I'm always ready.
Okay. I'm going to tell you about the murder of Jody Loomis. And
Okay.
is that ringing a bell?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, we are going to Snohomish County, Washington, 1972.
Okay.
Okay. So
You guys, Snohomish County, Washington is very near to us. It's one county north of us.
1 county north of us. That's right. So in 1972, it was mostly heavily wooded and rural. And rural.
We've talked about this before when we were talking about Green River and these are right, like, and we've mentioned with Ted Bundy, like most of the areas outside of the city of Seattle for a very long time, for many decades, were very undeveloped.
Yeah.
And rural.
Yep.
Almost all of it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And a lot of people had like quite a bit of property.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And also Snohomish County is where you start really getting into like farmland.
For sure. And it still is if you get far enough out there.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's August 23rd, 1972. 33-year-old Walter Morris and 18-year-old Kathy Kogel are on a drive and they decide to pull over onto sort of a wooded dirt road. It's speculated that these two were in a relationship.
Okay.
Because of the age gap, they were kind of being secretive about it and were like going to a, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So they turn off onto Penny Creek Road, which is off of 527 in Mill Creek.
Okay.
And they are blocked by a fallen tree limb across the roadway. So they get out of their car to try and move the tree. And that's when they see a woman sort of draped over and behind the tree.
Oh.
Uh-huh. She is almost completely nude except for her shoes and socks. And she was wearing boots that were called waffle stompers. I have a pair of waffle stompers because they made a comeback in the 90s.
Oh.
Are they? Is that ringing a bell?
I mean, yeah, but I can't picture them.
It's like kind of like a higher, like a chunk heel and like major divots in it. Like you're
right.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is wild because it's not like you can take off pants over boots like that.
Right.
So she's naked, but then they put her boots back on. This is so weird. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And she's also clutching her bra in her hand.
Huh.
I know. She has a bullet wound above her right ear. She is alive, but she's unable to talk.
Oh my God, she's alive?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They can visibly see that she had been sexually assaulted. I know.
Oh my God.
I know. So Walter and Kathy get the woman into their car and drive her to the hospital. But unfortunately, she is pronounced dead on arrival.
Oh.
I know. So the county sheriffs are notified, but after taping off the crime scene, it's obvious that there's like very little to go on. They talk to a 14-year-old girl who worked at a fruit stand along her family's property in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I did that.
Oh, fruit stands.
Mm-hmm. And she says that she remembers seeing a young woman earlier that day going by on a 10-speed bike. She said that she recognized the woman because she had a horse that was kept up at the stables a few miles up the road, and she would sometimes stop by for fruit for her horses. So she was kind of just
Okay.
a regular customer.
So she's local.
Mm-hmm. And the 14-year-old distinctly remembers the woman's boots that day which she described as waffle stompers, because she
Mhm.
thought it was an unusual shoe choice for bike riding.
That is an unusual shoe
Yeah.
choice for bike riding.
That sounds a little precarious.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like you might get caught up in the spokes or something.
Something could happen.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Something could happen. Yeah.
Mhm. So police are able to locate the 10-speed bike in the wooded area not far from where the woman was found. So they question the owner of the stables, and they're finally able to identify this victim, and she is 20-year-old Jody Loomis.
Okay.
When police arrive at the Loomis residence, her parents are already extremely worried. Her mom says that she had given Jody a dime and told her to call if she was going to be late, but she never called. A dime.
No.
I know. Jody's sister Jana says that both of them always had to carry a dime in their pocket in case they ever needed to make a call.
Brother, can you spare a dime?
I know. Jana was 12 years old when Jody passed away, and she says that she lost her best friend.
Oh my God.
I know.
I can't.
Mm-mm.
We've talked about this. I could not. I could not.
No. So Jody was living at home with her parents and sister, and in the house was her fiance, Jim. Jana described Josie as a kind, free spirit who loved people deeply, but she would be real with you if it was needed.
My kind of gal.
Yeah. But she still loved you just the same.
That's right.
Yep. She was an animal lover and an extremely talented wood carver. She sounds fucking cool.
Sounds really fucking cool.
No. Mm-hmm.
And she rides horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So police start looking into Jody's movements that day, and they learn that she leaves her house on her bike in the afternoon. I guess typically her mom would drive her to the stables, but Jody and Jim recently got into biking, and she was trying to get into better shape so that she could keep up with Jim.
Okay. She's riding a 10 speed
Yeah.
on these like gravel roads?
Dirt roads. Yeah.
Ugh.
And waffle stompers.
This is all,
Man.
that's a whole scene.
Mm-hmm. So the horse stable is about 6.5 miles north of her home. So she first makes a stop at a friend's house, Linda Hook. And Jody asked Linda if she wanted to go horseback riding with her, but Linda was in the middle of packing because her family was moving to California, so she declines the invitation.
Okay.
When Jody is found by Walter and Kathy, it's 5:30 p.m. So it means she could have been lying in that wooded area for a few hours if
Right.
she's at her friend's house in the afternoon and on her way on the 6-mile ride, right?
Right. Because she never made it to the horse stable. Is that what we determined?
Yeah, no, she never did. Her autopsy shows that she had been raped and that she had been shot from above by a .22 caliber pistol. So it is assumed by detectives that she was sitting on the ground and her attacker was standing behind her.
Like execution style.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
I know. They question Walter, and they also question Jody's dad, Ron, which is like,
Right.
fuck you. They also question 13-year-old Alan Rice, who was the son of the family that owned the 1,000-acre farm where the fruit stand was located.
The 13-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, can you imagine 1,000-acre farm in Mill Creek?
That doesn't exist anymore.
It is
That is
so urban now. Mill Creek.
That does
so urban.
not exist.
No.
That is all subdevelopments now.
Oh, yeah. That's just wild to think about.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember when Bill's Dairy used to be 5 minutes from our house?
What the hell is Bill's Dairy?
Bill's Dairy. It was a whole dairy farm. Mom used to go and buy like the milk in the glass jugs that you'd like give a deposit for, and then you go and you take them back and get new ones. And you don't remember that?
No, where was that at?
Over by the 405 area now, where like Bothell.
Oh, like the 160th?
Kind of around there. Yeah, in that zone, in
Weird.
that section. Somewhere in that section.
That is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have no recollection of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the 13-year-old was with his dad all day cutting firewood, so he's ruled out. They even investigated an area biker gang called the Reapers Roadmen.
Why do these guys...
Why do they exist?
Every time you tell me about a group of dudes
The
that have a
cause.
name for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
cannot.
I cannot. So these dudes, the Reapers, have a clubhouse not too far from where Jody was found,
Okay.
because that's necessary.
That place is disgusting too, and you know it.
For sure. They probably also
filthy.
have a wheel of punishment.
Or something. It is
Ugh.
fucking filthy gross in there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yep. Nope. No, thank you.
Yeah. Apparently, the, ringleader of this group, who was somebody named Yamaha.
Okay.
I know. He owned a 22 caliber pistol, and he likes to fire at trains as they went by. Like, what a dick move. Yeah.
Okay.
But ultimately, they don't have any evidence to link him to Jody's murder.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, decades go by and the case goes cold. The case is cold. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And to make matters so much worse, most of the evidence collected, like her underwear with the semen and swabs from her rape kit, unfortunately go missing. Yep.
I can't.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. Just missing.
Just oopsie-daisies.
Just oopsie-daisies. Just very important evidence in a horrific rape and murder. Just missing.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened to that.
Just MIA. Yeah.
Sorry about it.
Yep. The only thing that they still have are her boots.
Okay.
In 2008, Jody's case is featured in a deck of cold case playing cards distributed by the Snohomish County Police to prison inmates.
Which is the weirdest fucking thing that they do. It's one of the weirdest things.
I remember seeing that at the court when I worked there, the playing cards.
They hand them out as like swag when you work for the court.
Basically. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody actually play with those? Because that shit is wild to me.
Can you imagine Go Fish with that? Like, do you have a Ted Bundy? Nope, Go Fish. What the fuck? Like, what are we doing?
No. What?
That's so bad. It's
so
bad.
weird.
I know. So this was a practice that started in 2007 to try to get someone to come forward with information. So they would hand it out to prison inmates. Are any of these people your buddies, or like, do you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, because, they all know each other.
Sure. Mhm. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Jody's case is the oldest case in the deck of cards,
Okay.
but they don't.
Was it 72, you say, or 74? 72?
Yeah. But they don't get any tips from the playing cards.
Weird.
Can't imagine what. I know.
So weird. I don't know why that didn't work.
I know.
Can't.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Maybe if they handed out totes instead, t-shirts.
Totes my goats. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
T-shirts. That's terrible.
Because playing cards isn't terrible.
I know. My God.
What? Anyway. Okay.
Oh, so they send the boots, which is the only evidence they have, to the state crime lab.
Okay.
And even though these boots have been examined many times over the years, a lab technician finds a small semen sample on the boot that had been missed, like in the crevice of the waffle stomp.
No.
Hmm. Yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible. So the men who were questioned at the time, they all provided DNA samples. 13-year-old Alan, who's now in his 50s, was not a match.
It's shocking. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we cleared that up.
I know.
God.
My vote was for Alan for sure.
Well, at least they're finally being thorough after losing all the pertinent evidence in the case. Jesus.
I know. God damn it. Walter was also cleared. Biker gang is also, that's a no. So
Okay.
when the sample is put into CODIS, they still don't get anything. They don't.
Walter was the fiance?
No, Walter was the driver who found him.
Oh,
her,
did they?
sorry.
Okay. And the fiance? Did the fiance get tested?
They didn't mention that.
But he had been ruled out with an alibi or
Mhm.
something. He'd been home with their parents or something,
Probably,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So this person is also not in CODIS. So another decade goes by before there's any movement on the case.
Because now they have to do genealogy shit.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the Golden State Killer was caught using genealogical DNA, and Snohomish County investigators decide to take that same approach in Jody's case.
Here we go.
Here we go. So the DNA from Jody's boot is linked to the parents of 6 brothers.
Oh,
Mhm.
6
6
brothers.
brothers. Yes.
Do they live nearby?
Uh-huh. One of these brothers is Terrence Miller, and he stands out to the police immediately. He wasn't in CODIS, obviously, and he had no criminal record, but he had several run-ins with the law, and many of those run-ins revolved around sexual impropriety, which is like, what the fuck does that even mean, and why was
I don't know.
he
It's like a
arrested?
Victorian term for you're showing too much ankle.
He was showing too much ankle, so he got several written warnings.
Like, what? I mean, is it like indecent exposure or something? Like he's whipping his dick out on the fucking metro or
I have
whatever?
no
Like,
idea. Victorian era. I mean, the case is so old that could have been what was going on,
right.
unfortunately. He lived just 5 miles away from where Jody was found. So police stake out his home, where he lived with his wife of over 40 years. And together they ran a ceramics shop.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, was he still in the Mill Creek area at this time?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like he'd been in Mill Creek the whole time.
Yep. Just vibing right there with his ceramics. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, both of Jody's parents passed away before they were able to see a person be held responsible for her death.
Mm.
I know. But police follow Terrence Miller to a local casino where he discards a coffee cup in the trash, and they're able to grab it. And of course, it is a match.
Muckleshoot?
Probably, or Layla. Layla. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. In April 2019, an arrest warrant is issued for 77-year-old Terrence Miller, and he is charged with first-degree murder.
77 years old.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine his wife, though, too?
No.
No. That's a forgotten victim. I just spent 40 years and
Pretending like I didn't do that.
yeah, or I just spent 40 years married to this man who I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh, it just gives me chills. That poor woman. So when he's interviewed, of course, he denies everything and says that he didn't know Jody Miller. It's like, well, yeah, but
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what stranger on stranger crime is.
yeah, couldn't have been me because I didn't know her.
Go ahead.
Well, not how this works. Mhm.
It's not good enough.
Mm-mm. So he is booked on $1 million bail, but he is able to post bail, so he is out of custody for his trial.
Did his wife help him post that bail?
I don't know.
I mean, they had kids probably, right? Like grown ass kids by then.
Hmm.
Oh my God.
Yep. So it's now November 2020. Trial is underway. Closing arguments have been made. The jury goes into deliberation. And it's a Friday. The jury is unable to reach a verdict by Friday evening. So the court is in recess until Monday morning.
Does this man have a heart attack and die over the weekend?
On Monday morning, Terrence Miller took a revolver out into his backyard and shot himself in the head.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then the judge makes a very unprecedented move, and he decides not to tell the jury that the defendant is deceased and allows the verdict to be read.
Is that allowed?
Don't know.
Judge's discretion? Because judges can just do whatever the fuck they want, apparently.
Well, it was good because the jury had found Terrence Miller guilty of first-degree murder.
But there was like nobody. Well, I guess her sister was still around.
Her sister was very grateful to the judge for allowing the verdict to be read, and she said the guilty verdict was really important to her for closure.
Did she know, or was it just the jurors who didn't know?
I don't think anybody knew, except the defense attorney and the prosecutor and the judge.
Well, and his wife.
Sure. I meant court
Right.
officers of the court.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the murder of Jody Loomis. Isn't that wild?
Sister, that was it's crazy.
Uh-huh.
I keep thinking about this too, because we have had a few cases we talked about where because of what happened with the Golden State Killer, it's like opened this whole new avenue. All these like 60 and 70 plus year old men. Can you imagine like knowing that like you thought you got away with it because you did that shit before there was such thing as DNA, and now it's like, oh no, actually we're gonna find you.
Yeah. One of the things they said too was that when they did the search warrant for his house and his ceramic shop, they found new articles about the Golden State Killer. So I bet he was, who knows how many years he spent scared shitless, just knowing that any moment they're going to come knocking.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Because at this point with touch DNA too, like it is so hard to not leave behind DNA.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere in the process of murdering someone.
No shit. So good. I mean, I think that's good to know that perhaps he spent the last at least decade just really uncomfortable in his life.
At the very least. I mean, that's something, I guess.
Something. Yeah.
The thing that sucks about that too is that like we don't know, like with the thing that bothers me about guys like that though is that when they go that long, like who knows what else they did.
Oh, I know.
They might have other victims and we'll never know.
Yeah, because most people don't go straight to rape and murder and it's just a one-off.
Right. Exactly. I mean, if they were smart, they would look around. They would just dig a little bit on that guy.
Yeah. Well, and especially in this area, I wonder.
Right. Like, did they look around at other cases that hadn't been solved? Because they've got them.
You know that any case unsolved in that era, they're going to either just blame Bundy or Green River.
I mean, I think you'd have to maybe like Seattle and South, but not North.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, yeah.
Wow, sister, that was quite the ride you just took me on.
You're welcome.
Are you ready for some chaos?
Always.
We're going to go to Surfside, Florida.
Fucking Florida.
Hey, now, Florida, we're not going to beat up on Florida right now. They just got hammered by a massive, tragic weather event.
That's true. Florida people were thinking of you.
Absolutely. Surfside, Florida is a suburb of Miami, which is very near the southeastern tip of the state. the mainland state, right? And it's primarily a residential beach town that's actually on this narrow strip of land that juts out and south. So it parallels the mainland. It is the mainland, but there's this it's bordered on one side by the Atlantic Ocean, like on the east side, and then on the west side, it's bordered by the intercoastal waterway, which is the strip of water between like the mainland and this strip of land that sticks out like a thumb, kind of, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a very small little town, as in like the geographic footprint is small. It has a population of it had a population of just over 5,600 people at the 2020 census.
Okay.
From what I can gather on the history of this little town, it has long been inhabited by wealthy white men. And in 1935, when the city of Miami was clearly on a path to annex Surfside into Miami, 35 members of a privately owned surf club pulled together to incorporate Surfside as its own city.
Mm-hmm.
Surfside has a ton of condominium buildings and a few notable residents. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump have a residence there. At least they did. I'm not sure if they still do. And so did Philip B. Hoffman, who's the former CEO of Johnson & Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Surfside is a nice town.
Got it.
One group of condos in Surfside are called Champlain Towers.
I think I might be familiar with this.
Yeah, you might be knowing where this is going. Consisting of 3 towers altogether, they were built over a period of 14 or 15 years. Champlain Towers South completed in 1981, Champlain Towers North completed in 1982, and Champlain Towers East, built between the North and South Towers, completed in 1994.
Okay.
All 3 of the towers are L-shaped structures with 12 stories. But as of 2021, the South building contained the most units with 136, including a rooftop penthouse.
Damn, that's a lot of units.
Mm-hmm. The units varied in size from 1,200 to 4,500 square feet and from 1 to 4 bedrooms. The penthouse was kind of a controversial part of Champlain Towers South's design because an exemption was needed to exceed the city's height limit, and the penthouses were also not a part of the original building permits.
They were add-ons later?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
William M. Friedman and Associates Architects Incorporated was the architect for the project's 1979 contract drawings. Brighterman, Gerardo, and Associates, they were the consulting engineers, and they were responsible for engineering aspects and the 1979 contract drawings, where Brighterman and Associates covered the structural items and Gerardo and Associates covered electrical and mechanical. The project was the first new construction in Surfside following a moratorium on new development imposed by Miami-Dade County due to water and sewer infrastructure problems in Surfside during the 1970s. Mm-hmm. In 1979, the Champlain Tower complex developers paid the city $200,000, which is over $860,000 in 2024, to fund the replacement of the sewer system and secure approval for the construction of these condos.
Okay.
On June 24th, 2021, just before 1 a.m., which is the early morning hours of a Thursday in the middle of the night, Sarah Neer, a resident of the South Tower, said she heard loud knocking sounds that initially she assumed was caused by construction work. Around 1:14 a.m., she heard a noise that she thought sounded like a wall crashing down, and she left her ground level apartment to complain to a security guard in the lobby. She estimated that about a minute later, while she was in the lobby, she heard a very large boom and saw that part of the ground level parking area and part of the pool deck had collapsed into the underground parking garage.
Oh my God.
She and her 2 children were home at the time and ran from the building.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah's son called 911 at 1:19 a.m. About a minute later, a dispatcher with Miami-Dade County Fire and Rescue called for an engine to respond to an alarm at the building.
Oh, this is much more than an alarm.
2 or 3 minutes later, the middle section of the long part of the L of the tower collapses under the weight of the building, after at least 2 support columns in the parking garage below it had failed. Once this middle section of the building is missing, it is mere moments later that the eastern section, now freestanding on its own,
Oh, God.
also collapse, basically pancake style.
Mm.
The whole collapse event lasted about 12 seconds. This collapse is captured in its entirety on security footage. You
No
can watch
way.
this happen from one of the other towers, like from a distance. You can watch the whole thing happen.
Oh, my God. And there's just a whole bunch of residents in there in bed.
In bed.
And
in
their
the middle of the
house
night.
just goes out from under them.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
The portions of the building that collapsed encompasses almost half of the 136 units in the building.
Wow.
And obviously, this turned into an all-hands-on-deck situation. More than 80 rescue units responded to the collapse. All the residents in the portion of the tower that was still standing were evacuated. In that first 24 hours, search and rescue commences in earnest, looking for people buried inside what is a very unstable 2-story high pile of rubble. Hundreds of families gathered at the Surfside Community Center, which turned into a family reunification center, searching for information on their missing loved ones, and a reunification hotline is set up. Governor Ron DeSantis declares a state of emergency to allow for federal rescue, housing, and financial assistance. Officially, at this point, 35 survivors are pulled out, 10 are treated for injuries on site, and 2 are taken to the hospital. And 99 people are reported missing, while 102 are accounted for. At least one person was confirmed dead. The 2 hospitalized victims, a mother and her daughter, survived with serious injuries, having fallen from the 9th floor to the 5th floor.
Oh, my God.
They were pulled from the rubble by Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Aerial 19. Her husband did not survive.
Oh.
Their family cat was later found wandering near the collapsed building.
Oh, because the cat has 9 lives. I can't even imagine what that sensation feels like of falling, but like in your house.
Right?
I don't have an experience to even link that to for my brain to understand.
Well, I mean, I'm having just been on the TikToks watching what happened in Appalachia a couple weeks ago. People literally rode the river in their houses.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
No, it's unimaginable. It is unimaginable. Until about 11 a.m. that first day, there was a woman's voice heard deep within a section of the rubble, but no one was able to reach her.
Oh.
At 11:29 p.m. that night, the first lawsuit related to the collapse is filed electronically on behalf of Manuel Dresner and, quote, on behalf of all others similarly situated. The suit initially sought $5 million in damages.
That sounds very low.
Yeah. By the second day of rescue efforts, Friday the 25th, the missing list grows to 159. There are 120 people accounted for. The death toll is now officially 4 because they don't add to the death count until they have found and determined that the person is dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Authorities also identify the first victim, Stacy Fang, 54. She lived in the building with her 15-year-old son, Jonah Handler, a 10th grade junior varsity baseball player in Monsignor Edward Pace High School. They are among the few people pulled alive from the rubble during the first hours after the collapse. Stacy dies at the hospital, but her son survives.
Oh.
FEMA is there, other Florida search and rescue teams, and then Mexico and so-called Israel send in search and rescue teams as well.
Mm-hmm.
World Central Kitchen, Direct Relief, and the American Red Cross are on site. And the search and rescue crews are working 2 rotating 12-hour shifts sifting through the rubble.
Yeah.
On Saturday the 26th, Miami-Dade County's mayor announces at a press conference that there's now a fire deep within the rubble and that the fire and the smoke from the fire are impeding search efforts.
Well, yeah.
She said that the fire was spreading outwards throughout the pile, making it difficult to isolate the source. Officials said that rescuers were in the tower's heavily damaged underground parking garage under constantly changing conditions. Miami's mayor advised that no further victims have been found. As you've heard, the numbers are the same as they were yesterday. 127 have been accounted for, 159 unaccounted for, 4 confirmed dead.
Mm-hmm.
Later that afternoon, the official toll was revised without elaboration to 5 dead and 156 missing. Surfside's mayor advised residents of the Champlain Towers North building to evacuate with FEMA assistance, quote, pending a thorough structural investigation.
I mean, did that even need to be said? Or were those people like, I got to get the fuck out of here?
I mean, hard to say, right? But the north and south buildings were basically constructed by the same developer at about the same time, likely using the same materials and plans.
Mm-hmm.
They were, because one was finished in 81, the next one was finished in 82. The third one was like 10 years later or whatever, right?
And did all three of them have the added penthouse top?
I'm not sure, but I don't think so.
Mm.
So the mayor didn't immediately order the evacuation of the building or declare it unsafe, but by late afternoon, voluntary evacuations were just happening on both the north and the east towers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, people were like, yeah, peace out. I got to go.
Yeah, we got it.
We got it. By June 29th, 5 days in, the fire was finally extinguished. And that evening, Miami's mayor announced a confirmed death toll of 12 and 149 missing. The fire chief reported that the section of buildings still standing could not be entered and searched because it was too unstable. There was also a large area under the rubble that couldn't be searched for basically the same reason.
Too unstable.
Too unstable.
Okay.
6 bodies were found on Wednesday, including the wife and 2 children of a man whose body had been found a few days earlier. In the afternoon, the rescuers discovered void spaces, including one described as a big tunnel, like in the rubble. This was also the day that the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, announced that they would be launching a full-scale investigation.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys that, this is what they do.
Yeah.
They're the ones that investigate plane crashes, building collapses. Like, they're the engineers of engineers, right?
Yeah.
Over the course of the 2 weeks following the initial collapse, the official death toll continued to rise as the missing total continued to be revised. Somewhere along the way, someone's cat had been found alive in the rubble, which made families still waiting for answers about their missing loved ones hopeful that there were other voids or pockets underneath the debris where people might also still be alive.
Right.
Through this 2-week period, officials continued to refer to the effort as rescue, not just recovery.
Mm-hmm.
The remaining piece of the tower that had not collapsed was becoming increasingly unstable, and search and rescue was going to have to be halted to do a controlled demolition on that part. Rescuers used visual searches, thermal cameras, drones, and animal traps to try to locate pets left behind in the standing portion of the building, but they didn't find any. There was pushback from some of the residents that they hadn't tried hard enough to rescue their pets. The demolition was scheduled for July 4th at 10 p.m. A petition with over 18,000 signatures was handed over to halt the demolition plans until all pets were found in the standing portion of the building. An hour before demolition, a county judge denied the motion to delay demolition and allow people to retrieve their pets. So the demolition took place at approximately 10:30 p.m. on July 4th. And the search for survivors resumed about 20 minutes later.
Okay.
Because they're still searching.
Yeah, for sure.
Like round the clock. Over the next few days, more bodies were recovered. No survivors, though. It was 14 days after the collapse that the announcement was made that they were shifting their operations from search and rescue to search and recovery.
Yeah.
It would be the 23rd of July, after 4 weeks of intensive searching, that the Miami-Dade Fire Department would leave the site and discontinue the recovery effort. 3 days later, the final missing person would be identified, leaving the death count at 98 and an unborn child.
Oh, fuck, 98.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
The Surfside condominium collapse was the kickoff of a wider conversation about the condominium buildings across Florida and beyond. The reality was this was a 40-year-old condo building.
Mm-hmm.
And building maintenance, upkeep, and repairs are paid for out of dues.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite, Am, we're going to talk about HOAs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, technically condominium associations, but they're functionally the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first apartment buildings in the state started going up around the 1870s. In cities across the country. And as U.S. cities grew dramatically, many people moving into these cities clustered together in this new kind of housing. Low-income brackets lived in tenements, middle class in boarding houses and residential hotels, and the more well-off were in apartment buildings. But a lot of people were not interested in sharing a building with other families, especially if their neighbors were temporary.
Mm-hmm.
All of these people were renters, and rent was high.
Right.
By the 1880s, the co-ownership model would emerge. Mostly upper middle class artists and writer types bought these properties, quickly followed by doctors, lawyers, bankers, businessmen. These apartments turned into condos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the 1920s, affordable co-owned buildings were being built in New York City, specifically built to be condos.
Okay.
After World War II, as more Americans moved to Florida and other warmer resort areas, either permanently or part-time, they wanted beachfront views, and condos make that more economically feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Condos all around are more economically feasible for people because a lot of homeowner expenses are shared. And it stabilizes monthly housing costs. Owning a condo protects against market increases in rents.
Mm-hmm.
This is especially appealing to retirees on a fixed income, many of them selling their houses in the North, often originally bought with the help of the Federal Housing Administration or the GI Bill after the war, and moving to Florida condos by the hundreds of thousands between the 60s and the 80s. Florida has a lot of condos.
Yeah, I remember when this story came out because it wasn't too long after I sold my condo. And the reason I sold my condo was because they were doing a $80 million special assessment because, by the way, your condo is going to slide down the hill.
Right.
Because we've mismanaged the HOA funds for so long and ignored that this building isn't structurally sound.
Oh, we're going to keep going here.
Okay, great.
You ready?
I'm just so triggered right now. These poor people.
I knew you would be. I'm
Fuck,
sorry.
Fuck
This has been on my list for a long time to cover. It was in 1961 that the National Housing Act was put in effect that recognized and established laws officially around condominiums, which also led to a boom in condos being built. And now we are in an era of an entire generation of buildings moving from middle age to old age, which is a time that requires complex and expensive decisions about what to do with an old condo building. Because what a condominium association or an HOA really does is function like a mini government, but it's private. And there's only so much legislation that can be imposed on these private properties and communities. So what often happens is a push and pull between how much money should be in reserve for repairs and how much money members are willing to personally allocate to those coffers. And oftentimes these decisions need like an 80% approval from all the members of the association. Some decisions in these charters are required to be unanimous. And it's hard to get people to pony up money today for something that needs to be paid for 10 years from now.
Right.
Especially if they don't even know they're still going to be there in 10 years.
Right.
Another issue these buildings face is that as opposed to, say, in a city or a town where different things get built at different times and need repair or replacement at different times, everything built together falls apart together. So when these buildings get old, it's like all this shit needs to be fixed or replaced all around the same time. And that's fucking expensive.
Yep.
Side note, I did read in my travels that something like 1 in 4 homeowners, if you include condos in that, are in an HOA or a condo association.
Right.
In the case of the Champlain Towers, all the investigating and litigation revealed that the towers didn't even meet building codes at the time that they were built, let alone current codes.
Oh my God. Wow.
They also found evidence that there were errors in construction and renovations that just compounded the original deficiencies. Specifically, the pool deck design and the slab reinforcement, along with the possible problems of the additions and changes made to the planters out there. So we're talking about like, okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent here a little bit and like give you guys a little bit better of an explanation. But like, imagine the footprint of the building is a rectangle with the short ends on the east and the west side, right? And then the L is like the long side is running east and west, and then the short chubby little jutting out of the L is running north and south on the west side of this rectangle, right?
Okay.
And then you have the open section of that footprint of that rectangle. That's where the pool was. Okay. So the pool and like a hot tub or whatever, right? And like that whole footprint around the pool and like the base of the building and stuff, that is just, there's all these slabs, these concrete rebar enforced slabs of concrete, right? And there is a parking garage on that level. There's like parking on that level and like, in
Like the
between.
big beams, the big cement
beams, the big
yeah.
concrete beams,
Mhm.
they're in there. And then underneath that is underground parking
Okay.
too, like under that slab. So more of those pole structures underground too, right?
Mhm.
And then in the area around the pool and on that slab, they call it the pool deck, but it's really like that whole ground level is what we're talking about, right?
Right.
They have at some point over time, they've added like these big, like poured concrete planters, like plants and shit in them that weren't originally there,
Right.
which looks lovely. But like what ended up happening was, and I think I get into this. So that's the part that is failing. There's failure going on this base foundational slab above the underground part of the parking garage.
Okay.
Okay. So specifically the pool deck design and the slab reinforcement in the planters. More digging revealed that in 2018, an engineering report warned the Condo Association Board and the tower residents of major structure damage and a construction error in the building, and that the structural slab of the pool deck level, the ground floor above the parking garage, was flat instead of sloped, so the water couldn't drain properly.
Oh,
And it was
shit.
pooling on the surface, and the concrete was crumbling, and the support columns were rusting from this pooling water, like dripping down from the pool deck,
Mhm.
because it was just sitting there instead of draining off.
Wow.
But then a Surfside town official told residents like a month after that, in that October 2018 report, that their building was in good shape. They're fine.
And they know this because
I don't
they're
even know.
engineers?
I don't even know.
Mhm.
So in the next 2 years, the building's structural condition got worse. Follow-up inspections by the same engineer that found the problems in the first report found more problems. Older multi-story buildings in Miami-Dade County are required to undergo a 40-year safety recertification process, and it was due for that. The board and residents were shown an urgent PowerPoint presentation from the property manager dated November 2020.
Oh. Urgent.
That on one slide explained in bold, uppercase letters why we have to do all this now. Another slide warned, quote, "This will be expensive no matter what choice we make. The main expenses by far are related to items that are not cosmetic or even seen. Concrete, roof, generator room, firewall."
Wow.
We're talking safety.
Major safety. Safe
Right?
and tea. That's right.
Safe and
folks.
tea. The 2018 price tag to fix the building's problems was estimated at $9 million.
Mhm.
By 2020, those figures grew to more than $12 million.
Mhm.
The board wanted to take out a $15 million line of credit to begin the repairs. Condo residents would have to pay their share at about $100,000 apiece.
This is so triggering. And also earlier, I think I said 80 million and I think it was 8 million, but it literally was exactly this. It was exactly this.
Yes. The presentation outlined options for residents, including a vote to increase monetary reserves. Another slide said, quote, "Our building is at a turning point. We have decisions to make as a family about our future."
This is not a family. Shut the fuck up, board director.
Right? Residents were frustrated.
Mhm.
Another slide warned, complaining or shouting at each other doesn't work. Voting is the best way to understand what the majority wants. I'm sorry, you guys should see Amber's face right now. She's like literally having flashbacks, I think,
I hated
to her condo association
to these
meetings.
fucking meetings. These meetings. Oh my God.
Months later, in April 2021, the condo board president wrote a letter to the residents noting that discussion about the fixes had gone on for years and that problems with the concrete were accelerating. Quote, "When you can visually see the concrete spalling, cracking,
Mhm.
that means that the rebar holding it together is rusting and deteriorating beneath the surface."
Mhm.
The board approved seeking a $15 million line of credit on April 13th, 2021. The structural repairs had not even begun yet when the condo collapsed 2 months later.
Fuck.
From what I can gather, the first initial lawsuit that was filed the night after the collapse was morphed into a two-pronged class action suit in mid-July. There were two subclasses of victims, those who had lost family members or suffered a personal injury, and those who had suffered only an economic loss on account of the destruction of their apartment unit. In mid-August, the amended class action that was filed at that time only named the Champlain Towers South Condominium Association as a defendant, alleging the association's negligence in its failure to adequately maintain and repair the building. After initial investigation into additional contributing causes of the collapse, in mid-November 2021, class counsel filed a second amended complaint, bringing a class action lawsuit against various entities responsible for the development, maintenance, and repair of the South Tower. And for some reason, the neighboring development known as 87 Park.
What did they do?
I don't know. There were 9 entities named in this amended filing that included the condo association, as well as development firms, consultants, architects. It was like everybody they could possibly include.
Yeah.
In June 2022, one day before the 1-year anniversary of the collapse, a $1.02 billion settlement was approved for victims of the collapse. The defendants in the case and other targets that were never named as defendants chose to settle, and quickly, to avoid long delays from litigation and exposure to liability. Roughly half the settlement amount came from a single company, Securitas AB, that was never named in the lawsuit in relation to the on-duty security guard not triggering a building-wide alarm before she exited the building.
Oh, this is odd.
Well, okay, so that Sarah gal, she saw the deck collapse. She saw the pool deck area collapse into the garage. There's no way they could have known that the whole thing was going to come down, but there was at least a few minutes between when that happened and when everything else happened. Or when the collapse happened.
Right.
There was hard to say, but there was probably close to 8 minutes between the time that happened and the time that the failure occurred in the middle of the tower. So 8 minutes is enough for people to get the fuck out.
For sure. Yeah.
In an emergency, just jump out of bed in your pajamas and fucking run for it.
Totally.
They could have saved some people.
They could have. Yep.
If they just pulled the alarm. The future of the property itself was already being discussed by July 7th.
Okay.
Just as the emergency response was transitioning from rescue to recovery.
Jeez, that's gross.
Some people wanted it to be like a memorial park, but that wasn't going to happen, obviously.
No.
We are talking about prime beachfront real estate in Florida. So on the 14th of July, a Miami-Dade County Circuit Judge approved the sale of the property to developers on the condition that the proceeds be used to benefit the victims and their families. How they determine what the proceeds are in that, they always find a way to... They minimize those proceeds, I guarantee it.
Of course.
It was eventually sold in May of 2022 for $120 million to some big mamma jamma Dubai-based billionaire developer with a planned luxury residence to be built on the site. If approved and ultimately constructed, the new luxury development at the site of the collapse would be 12 stories tall, just like Champlain Towers South. In a letter to Surfside officials, an attorney representing the company proposing the new building said the project, quote, will be a significant improvement to the property and a benefit to the area.
Fuck off.
The NIST has made preliminary statements about their findings, which is how we know some of the things we know about what we are pretty sure is what happened. But the full report, which initially was supposed to come out sometime in 2025, is now expected to be delayed until 2026. The Surfside collapse is tied with the Knickerbocker Theater collapse as the third deadliest non-deliberate structural engineering failure in the U.S., behind the Crime, Wine, and Chaos alum Hyatt Regency walkway collapse and the collapse of the Pemberton Mill.
Oh.
And that is the story of the Surfside condominium collapse.
Sister, that was so triggering.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Fucking condominium collapse.
I mean, people need to understand, between knowing about that, because I remember reading a really, really well written, in-depth article, and they talked a lot about Chicago, because I think it might have been in a Chicago publication or something, but they were talking about condominiums in general, and they were talking about what we were finding out and realizing about why this building collapsed, and it was this kind of educational and editorial on condominiums, condo associations, the whole business and industry and history and all. And so I already had like a little bit of an idea, right? And I was like, between that, having already read that and watched this happen, right, in South Florida or in Florida, and then watching you go through what you went through with your condo stuff, I don't think so, man. I don't think it's the answer.
Nope.
Makes me real nervous.
Yep.
Real nervous.
Yep.
I mean, they did say in a bunch of articles, right, that like it's really uncommon. Obviously, we were all in like awe of it happening because it isn't common that something like this happens, right? But there's a lot of other downsides, like your situation. What were you going through at the point when you guys left? It was like they were already like looking to talk about like selling the whole property to like developers. And then there's like this like non-equity of distribution of who gets paid out for it because some people were like going to basically be underwater or just, you know, basically just barely pay off their mortgage if they sold. Whereas other people were going to like make a killing. And it was just like, who then you're not motivated to sell. But then if you don't sell, your building might slide down the hill. So like, what are your options at that point?
Yeah. Oh my God. It was such a nightmare. It was such a nightmare.
It's chaos.
It's chaos. Yep. Oh, sister, I love you.
I love you too. We did it. We made it through. You guys go do all the things. You know, we're on the TikTok and you can find all of our show notes and things. We post over on the Patreon now. And, you know, give us a rating wherever you're listening to us. Maybe write us a little review. Typey.
Go sign the petition for Larry Regal.
Sign the petition for Larry Regal.
Yeah.
We posted about it on Instagram. We posted it about it on Facebook. I posted it about it on TikTok. You can find the information. Yeah, let's help them out. Let's help out Larry's family. Let's help them find the justice that they are looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
Sister, that was so fucking chaotic.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wine and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at crimewineandchaos.com/Patreon. Cheers.
Giant scarf is like Lenny Kravitz scarf. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.